My mother and father, they divorced whenever I was young. After their divorce, me and my siblings were always separated. It was like we were never a family again. I always wanted to be with my mother. She had an addiction of her own. She struggled really hard, and it didn't matter. I always wanted to be with her. At age 14, I got pregnant by a much older man. We had a baby. Her name was Sadie. When Sadie was 4 months old, a drunk driver hit our lights, knocked our lights out, and our house was pitch black dark. So I lit a candle that eventually caught our house on fire. Sadie, she died of smoke inhalation, and 80% of her body was burned. 2 weeks after she passed away, I had truancy court, and my mother was so far in her addiction that she didn't show up for court. So I was placed in a foster home 2 weeks after my baby died. I wasn't there but for a short period of time, but I began to just struggle with abandonment issues. Guilt and shame just consumed me. I thought that it was my fault that my baby died.
When I think about unprocessed emotions, we have a class at Renewal, the substance abuse class, and I asked the question, how many of you used because of the way you felt or wanted to change the way you feel? And ultimately every hand goes up, because if you don't know how to manage your emotions in a healthy way, you just want them to go away. You just want to numb them.
Throughout these years, I had 4 more kids: Maria, Amaya, Haley, and Brennan. My kids couldn't even save me from my addiction. I eventually ended up losing every single one of them. After I lost my kids, I didn't care about life anymore. I was a thief, I was a liar, I was homeless. I lost all relationships that meant anything to me. This one night in jail, this girl came up to me and she asked me, she said, "Brittney, if you were to die today, do you know where you would go?" And I couldn't answer that. And she's like, "Well, you can know, you can know today." And that day I gave my life to the Lord. This piece of paper fell out of this box, and I'm picking up trash and throwing it away, and I'm just drawn to this piece of paper. So I pick it up and I put it in my pocket, and I go back to my cell and I look at the paper, and it says Ephesians 4:28, and it says, "If you're a thief, quit stealing." That's when the Lord started speaking to me. 3 days after I got to Shepherd's Gate, I received the news that my mom had passed away from a drug overdose. I was just so devastated, but at the same time, I felt so much peace within myself. Losing my mom to drugs just gave me such a bigger drive not to ever do drugs again. I started working on inner healing while being at the Renewal Center, working on forgiving myself for everything that I've done to my children, working through the grief of losing my mom, working on guilt and shame that I've held on to so many years, along with my daughter passing away. I think the Lord picked me out of my muck and mire and set me in a safe place to breathe life into me. The first time I ever met her, I can just tell that she was such a godly lady, and I had a connection with her, and I knew I wanted her in my life.
I just see her she's just blossomed. She's so strong in her faith with our Bible studies, and when God or I bring something to her attention, she wants to get it immediately. You're right, I'm going to do it that way. And she is now giving back so much. And there isn't a day that goes by that she's not helping one of the other ladies.
God just knew, like, I needed a mother figure in my life, and she was right there to fill it. I literally had to give Haley and Brennan over to Jesus. And I had to really start trusting that the Lord knew what He was doing with them. But God slowly started restoring my relationships with Marie and Amaya. That didn't happen overnight. It was something I had to work very hard at. And in the program, God wasn't just working on me, He was working on my entire family, especially my sister. After my mom passed away and I went to the funeral, I had seen my sister, and she was literally on death's doorstep. And I just knew that I was going to be burying her next. I started praying hard for my sister. Rocky doesn't have any kids, so I told Rocky I was willing to have one more kid, and that would be it. And the Lord has such a great sense of humor, because we found out that we were having twins. Everyday circumstances, God reminds me how much that I need Him, and I cannot do this life without Him.